Good morning, St. Francis, and good morning, people of God. It is Thursday, the 24th day of April, 2025. It is Thursday of the octave of Easter. It is Easter Thursday. It is the 5th day of the Easter season, so all that wrapped in together. Just got done with morning mass here on the campus. Still quiet because our schools are still on break. A lot of people are away and things like that, given Easter week. But a beautiful blue sky once again here in Carolina. Not too hot today either, so that's kind of nice too. So again, the joy of the resurrection continues to renew the whole world, and we continue with Acts of the Apostles in our first reading, right after the moment in which Peter and John, I think I might have said it was James yesterday, but Peter and John basically have healed the man who was born with a lameness, with a disease that left him crippled and what have you. The man clings to Peter and John because of this great wonder that has happened to him, being able now to walk, perhaps the first time in his life. And Peter basically says to the people, "Why are you amazed at this?" Again, this sort of frustration now that Peter is having with the Jewish people, his brothers and sisters, again, not recognizing the fact of what has happened. And again, goes back into the whole idea is that you denied this Jesus, you rejected him, you asked for his death, everything else like that, but yet God brought him back to life, because God is the one who has the final word. And Peter does say something very important, that these actions that were done were out of ignorance. Again, there is no mention of a Satan entering into the hearts of people, like it is in that one gospel. I think it's in John, it might be in Matthew, in which Satan enters Judas's heart to make him betray Jesus. It was ignorance, which is a terrible, awful thing. Again, ignorance is perhaps the worst thing that can happen to us, because that is what breeds hatred and misunderstanding and animosities and what have you. Ignorance. But yet God, takes that ignorance and transforms it. And it doesn't let it stand in the way of what it is that God is able to do. We've got to come to the realization of believing this, and understanding it, and letting it, and letting the power of God and what God can do, again, reshape our hearts and reshape our minds into what is true and what is real about us and about this world in which we live. Peter tries to impress this, again, upon the people that have witnessed this great, miracle of healing this man who has been crippled, and that this Christ is not something novel or new, but was promised from the prophets way back when. Everyone looked forward to this Messiah, to this God who would do great things in their midst. And if you have forgotten this, then wake up and remember it. If you have forgotten what it is that God can do, wake up and remember it. Again, it speaks to all of us in our own day, in our own time. Again, if we get too bogged down by the world's pains and its anxieties and its troubles and its sadnesses, then we can forget what it is that God can do, or the things that God is doing right now. Easter is to allow us, to reorient ourselves to the power of God in our midst, and the power of what it is that God can do and must do in our midst. We have to believe this, because if we do not, then again, our faith is lost, and Christ remains on a cross, unable to truly help us. Christ can only help us and do what God desires and move this world forward if he rises. We have to remember that, because sometimes we get stuck just on the cross and that's about it. This Easter, maybe perhaps a little bit more, we can begin to realize and believe and understand, again, what power there is in a God who just doesn't let Christ be crucified, but a God who allows Christ to be raised, to come to new life and new understandings. That's what happens again in Luke's gospel today. Again, as we continue after the walk to Emmaus and the recognition of Christ and the breaking of bread, the apostles run back to Jerusalem, and again, they are met with the apostles. They are met with their brother and sister apostles, who are still in that upper room, kind of hidden, and Jesus pops in and pops out. Again, this is where, again, Jesus appears left and right, frightening them. And again, even after the witness of these two apostles in Emmaus about Christ in their midst and alive, Christ appears there, and they're all frightened and terrified. And it's like, and Jesus says, why? Why are there doubts? Why are you afraid? It's me. Touch me. I'm real. I'm here. And then does the most wonderful thing ever. He asks for something to eat. Again, it's not a spirit. It's not a spiritual life. It's not a spiritual life. We think that means you're divorced from any kind of physicality or whatever it is. The resurrection is physical. It is something that happens to Jesus that allows his body that he walked in life to become what it is meant to become. And it still needs nutrition, it seems. It still needs to be able to eat and to drink. Again, how much, how little, it never really says. You can move in between, you can be interdimensional, yes, but you still can have some fish, and some bread, to be able to eat. And this is the beauty of this, to recognize recognize, this is the Christ who is risen, not some kind of disembodied spiritual apparition, but someone that can be touched, hugged, that the friendship, the relationship that Christ had before the cross is now still the same relationship, and it continues to grow and build and become wonderful. The final part of this is that Jesus says to the apostles that are there, you are witnesses of what I have done. Be witnesses in this world of what can happen if you dare to believe in God and dare to believe that God is in charge, that God knows what God is doing. That is said to us also today on this Easter Thursday. We continue to be those witnesses, trusting always that God knows what God is doing and revealing to the nations God's great power, God's great love, God's great glory. A continued blessed Easter season. St. Francis and people of God, may the Lord give you his peace.